Eszter Bartha is a guest today. She is an associate professor at the Department of Eastern and Central European and Russian History of Eötvös, Loránd University of Budapest in Hungary. In the academic year 2018-19, she was a fellow at Rework in Berlin with the title Work and Human Life Cycle in Global History at Loránd University, Berlin. In 2020-21, she has been affiliated with the Hannah Arendt Institute for Totalitarianism Studies at the Technical University of Dresden as a Marie Curie Research Fellow. Her main research field is the post-war social history of Eastern Europe, with an emphasis on labor and gender history. She has published extensively on the state socialist era and the working class, including her book, Alienating Labor, Workers on the Road from Socialism to Capitalism in Eastern Germany and Hungary, 2013, published by Bergen. Currently, she's engaged in a research which focuses on the newly formed industrial working class, right-wing populism in Eastern Europe and Hungary. From 2021, she is also an editor-in-chief of the Journal of Contemporary Central and Eastern Europe.
Thank you very much. Can you hear me? Attila is okay? Okay, thank you very much.
Brilliant.
So far. So I really wanted to bring in this dimension of labor, which actually Raquel already discussed a bit or raised a bit. And there was one question at the beginning that why the workers did not defend the worker state. That's a very long, that goes back to a very long history, which we can actually consider now from 30 years perspective. In my own research, I compared the Hungarian and the East German case, but I would assume that the Czechoslovakia certainly belongs here. And the basic findings of an in-depth archival research was that the Stalinist variant of state socialism, characterized by collectivization, super-industrialization, and the planned economies, basically, and coercion, certainly, were exhausted a bit. This was indicated in the German case. We had a workers' revolt on the 17th of June, 1953. In the Hungarian case, 56. And the lesson that the party learned was that the workers' at least economic demands needs to be considered. So I make 2 points here, and one is that I mean, I don't want to say it was a worker state because it was not. The working class did not rule, as Rostya argued. It was basically the state bureaucracy which was the privileged class, but the state had to take into consideration the working class demands much more powerfully, or to much greater extent than certainly under neoliberal capitalism. Precisely because of the demands of legitimacy, basic legitimacy. So on the one hand, it was not worker state. On the other hand, the labor policy had to be, in one way or another, had to consider real working class interests concerning working class education, culture, the theaters, the cheap books, other means of high culture, and working class wages, working class housing, and so on and so on. Then comes the question as why the workers did not defend the state. I would say that in the 70s they might have done it actually, because even according to dissident Hungarian sociologists, in the mid-70s, the Hungarian party secretary Kádár was so popular that he could have been actually even a democratic re-election, because that was the peak of this welfare policy, which was targeted at the working class. Urban, I would make distinctions, urban, large industrial, and mostly men working class, or male working workers. And why then in 1990 they did not defend the state? Because these worker state or ex-worker state or worker state in brackets promised ever-increasing standard of livings and consumption levels which are comparable to the capitalist countries. But that comes a trick. Under capitalist countries, the workers in the region all meant the West German or the Austrian or the American standard of living. So basically, the West was identified with the advanced capitalist region and not with the less developed, with the peripheral capitalist. So I would say that was a trick that in 1989 most workers expected a kind of capitalism which they saw in West Germany, this Wirtschaftsdemokratie, or how it was called, that there is no high unemployment and there are relatively abundant consumer goods available to workers, such as Mercedes and washing machines and so on and so on, which the planned economies could not produce. So this would be my contribution, perhaps, to the question why it was the illusion of stability. So everybody expected that the workers, or not everybody, but most Westerners expected that either there would be a continuation of the state socialist past, or there would be a third way. Under that meaning, what Professor Klaus explained, third way, meaning that not state socialism, not capitalism, but workers, but a society based on socialist self-management, worker self-governance, and so on and so on. And this did not happen because of the because of the different expectations of workers. I think I have, Attila, 2 more minutes or 1 more minute. Do I have 1 more minute?
Oh, four.
Okay, then so post-state socialist era. Then again, I studied mainly Hungary and Germany, but Poland, I'm sure, belongs here, and also other Western countries, even France, that it has been observed already at the beginning of the 2000s that the right-wing parties attract more and more working class districts or working class voters, and even in the West, but certainly in the East. In my explanation, I would attribute the triumph of Kaczynski and Fidesz to these working class voters who were lost for the left-wing political parties, mainly because the workers no longer identified with the left, the political left, but they came to believe that these right-wing populist parties listened to their voice or and amplified their voice more effectively than the socialist parties, which is a big problem and also failure of the left in the region, I would say. And again, there are many possible explanations why the workers switched from the right to the left, from the left to the right. And I would outline, single out here some reasons. The multinational company culture strengthens individualization, awards or remunerates individual efforts, individual success, and basically they are quite strongly against the trade unions and any collective efforts or really collective action. So the workers lost the faith in the collective action, and they are to this idea of self-made man. So you have to make yourself, blah 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 blah. So this individualist company culture largely shapes identities, working class identities, which then tend to be less sympathetic to the left-wing ideas of communities, common societies, and so common action. And I think even more importantly, with the weakening of class identities, ethnic, nationalistic, religious, and other identities come to the floor. And also the gender issue can be cited here, but it's a longer question why masculine identities are more pronounced at the shop floor than female than emancipated identities. And since the radical right-wing parties promote strongly masculine identities, that also supports their appeal to the workers. And while in the last sentence, the political left, or the left, what we can associate with left, also got lost in these identity politics, that they are with the problems of, I don't want to say that how many genders is not important, it's very important. But for the workers, it's much more important whether the factory is going to move to the east or not, rather than questions of really very fragmentized identities. So once the class politics is exchanged by is replaced by identity politics, I think the left finds itself in really serious, faces really serious challenges and troubles. Thank you very much.
I'm Michael Hudson. I'm appearing here for the International Manifesto Group. If you like this video and ones like it, please subscribe. For more information, go to the address on the screen.